Okay, we are back to talk about Disclaimer on Apple TV Plus, looking at episodes 3 and 4. The show written and directed by Alfonso Cuarón, taken from a 2015 Renee Knight novel of the same name. In these episodes, we start to go back to Italy, where Catherine and Jonathan's relationship becomes extremely intimate for a day before Jonathan tells Catherine that he wants to come back to London with her and start a relationship with her. Well, Catherine tells him that just can't happen, which leads to a rift between them. While they are separated, Catherine falls asleep on the beach. Her son Nicholas takes his small boat into the ocean, drifting far, far away. Jonathan sees him and is able to rescue Nicholas, but drowns while trying to bring him back to shore. Catherine, after recovering her son, walks away as if she never knew him. Sometime later, Steve and Nancy are still stricken with grief after going to Italy to identify Jonathan's body. This leads Nancy to try and see what drowning feels like in her own tub. She moves permanently into Jonathan's room. Eventually, she is diagnosed with cancer. In the more present timeline, Catherine is reeling from Robert discovering her affair. She tracks down, calls Stephen, leaving a voicemail in hopes that this will help and assuage the situation and hopefully encourage Stephen to leave her alone. Catherine also discovers that her favorite bookstore has been selling many copies of the book that Stephen published, A Perfect Stranger. She also attempts to reconcile with Robert, but Robert packs a bag for her, calls a cab, and tells her to leave. Cameron, there are TV shows you can watch on an airplane. There are TV shows you cannot watch on an airplane. This is clearly not a show I've learned you can watch on an airplane after these two episodes.
Yeah, or if the airline was providing it, it would be censored. Which
Very much so.
happened to me years ago. I watched The Last King of Scotland on an airplane, and there was no indication that it was a censored version of the film.
Oh, okay.
They didn't tell me, and I found out later because people were talking about it, and I was like, well, I didn't see that. But anyway, yeah, lots of sexy time, pretty explicit stuff. That's fine. It's good. You in your summary there, I think fairly kind of put things in chronological order. One thing I did think was interesting over the course of these two episodes is the jump between three timelines, one of which
Mhm.
we did not get in the first two episodes,
Yeah, we
which
sort of got a middle timeline now where Steve
mhm.
and Nancy are dealing, I guess, months, years later with their grief of losing Jonathan, how much that has affected Nancy.
Yeah, basically starting when they find out, they're out back grilling and the cops come around, tell them, and uh, that was well done.
Yeah.
Did make me think about, man,
Yeah, no.
that would, I
I
mean,
I upon
yeah,
here at one point I wanted to just talk about how amazing I think Kevin Kline has been in this show. I think in many ways he sort of had the best performance in my mind. And this scene as he deals with Nancy, as he has become this older, sort of revenge focused man, he plays so many roles so well.
yeah, agreed. I think he's doing great work here. I mean, really, they all are. I don't have, well, maybe I do have some quibbles about the younger Catherine. I should have made a note of the actor's name here. Do you have it?
Yes,
I'll
her
look it
name
up.
is Layla George.
Leila George.
Used to be married to Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, no, I feel like I'm I just wanted to mention her name to give her credit, but now I feel like I'm going to turn around and be like, yeah, I don't know, good of a job you're doing. But
Fun
me,
fact, her father is Vincent D'Onofrio.
really,
Yes.
that makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Um, because she's like, I don't know how old she is, but
She is
anyway,
30, 31 or
yeah,
32. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I think she does fine, right? So
Yeah.
I don't mean to be overly negative about her performance. But one thing I did want to talk about is how some of those scenes, or maybe all of them, if we want this to apply to all of them,
Yeah.
they feel a little bit, I don't know, stilted or something. Like in particular, their her seduction of Jonathan when they're
Yeah.
having wine at the bar.
Yeah.
And all the Kylie Minogue stuff, which you referenced at the beginning of our hour here together. Um, that didn't really work for me. And
Yeah, it was a very strange scene. Now I'm curious to know your thoughts. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it didn't feel realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I felt exactly the same way. And Jonathan's reactions are like he's this nervous wreck, which I guess okay, you would be, but it just yeah, it just seemed like awkwardness leading to this like, passion and just yeah, just like does not compute type of thing for me.
So here's what it made me wonder, though, to try to spin this in a more positive direction. What if what we're seeing is the book, right? In other words, the convention of what they do in these scenes where they have the kind of I'm sure there's a term for this that's eluding me. You know what I'm talking about, where it kind of like the comes into the center, goes out,
Yes, yes, yeah.
um, and maybe even that's a clue, right? So maybe
Hmm.
what we're seeing is a portrayal of the events as they are written in the book, A Perfect Stranger, as opposed to the reality of what happened.
I think yeah, you may have hit the nail on the head here. We I think briefly touched on this last week, but the idea that um the book is obviously written from the perspective of a mother who wrote this on clues that she has identified in some way and would surely want to paint her son in a light where he is blameless or faultless in this whole situation. He seems very nervous. He seems very scared. It's almost like in the intimate scenes that Catherine is forcing him to do things. We get some of that. So yeah, I do wonder, is this
Mhm.
the perspective that comes from the book, and then are we going to see another perspective, or even are we seeing two different perspectives at the same time, and we just haven't had a sense to or a way to reconcile that yet?
I guess my hope is that this is the perspective of events as they are in the book,
Yeah,
because then it becomes interesting,
right.
right? And then instead of it being a criticism that something feels a bit off, or I just don't kind of quite buy the seduction or what have you, um, I
Yeah,
can take that in the direction of saying, well, okay, but this is Jonathan's mother, Nancy, recreating it, and it's actually the version in the book is like a not great romance novel kind of style. And to offer another bit of potential evidence for this theory, I did notice that Jonathan had a Kylie Minogue poster in his bedroom,
I didn't see that. That's great. Well, we
when
did
she's
get
like going through his stuff,
yeah. She's
right?
going through his room. She's looking through his stuff. The one time in the whole episode where she seems somewhat content and happy was going through all of his old things, including a set of photographs. And we did, I believe, in this third episode, get confirmation that Nancy took the roll of film from Jonathan's belongings when they went
Mm.
to identify him. We know that when Stephen uncovered the novel, the pictures were there developed. And so I guess she is putting the pieces together of what happened based on these photographs, and sort of crafting a story. It's sort of like is the story we're seeing has to be from the book because that's the only narrative that anyone alive can attest to because Catherine's sure not saying anything about it.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, like, look, the other option would be that the TV series disclaimer is showing us the reality of events,
Right.
that occurred in the past. But I think there are enough indications to lead me to the thought that that's not what's going on. We're not
Yeah.
seeing what quote unquote actually happened. And I hope that your suggestion is right, that we will later see what actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
That
that's a
wouldn't that would not
possibility.
surprise me at all. That would not surprise me. Again, we need to learn. This is another conversation from last week. We need to learn what's in that book. We need to learn that perspective, that story, what leads people who read it to say, for example, the bookstore owner to say, that is an awful, awful woman in that book, right? What we need to know what it is that makes them feel that. It has to be the perspective from that book, I would think at this point.
Yeah, so let's go in that direction. And I guess tentatively kind of presume that what we're seeing is the version of events in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's possible that that's like reality, diegetic reality would be the term. It's possible that's a real sequence of events within the reality of the show. Is what I mean. But maybe it's the book. It is very noteworthy to me that it seems like everyone who reads this book says, yeah, she got what she deserved. She is an awful woman.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Did she, is from what we've seen, is it really that bad? What do you think,
Yeah,
Ryan?
so we brought up this question last week, and I've been thinking about it since. There must be more to this story because what we have seen so far is a woman who had this 1 day long affair with this young man. No one else knows about it except the two of them. And the only conflict that's been there is when he said, I want to go back to London, but then he actually tries to save her son. He's dead. She walks away. I mean, that's the worst thing we've seen so far. So is that what makes her an awful, awful woman? And I don't see it either.
Right. I mean, like, I don't even know if that is that the worst thing because it's almost I'm almost tempted to say, well, I mean, okay, clearly what she did was like not great. You know,
Yeah,
the point's not to defend it necessarily, right? Is it morally defensible to cheat on your husband with some kid you just met while
right.
your literal little kid is sleeping in the next room? I mean, it's like this is not great,
Yeah, yeah,
but I mean, it's not bad enough for me to think, well, she certainly deserves to be put up against the wall and shot in the back of the head, which it seems
yeah.
like is how people are reacting.
And that's the other piece is we don't know what the outcome is. They're all reading something saying she's awful, she got what she deserved. We don't know the what she got part yet,
I
right?
believe
So,
Nicholas said in the book she dies.
oh, okay. I may have to go back and revisit that. I don't remember that.
I think it's a pretty quick comment, but I kind
Okay,
of made a note
okay.
of it. I think I'm right. We can go back and double check. But you are right. Regardless, we don't know exactly how or
Yeah.
what or
If that's the
um,
case, did she kill herself? Did she have an accident? We don't know any of that yet.
right. To what extent is it presented as punishment? But it does seem like everyone who reads the book says, well, she's awful.
Yeah.
And then also, taking the perspective of Stephen and Nancy, I mean, of course they would be distraught about this. Of course, this is terrible to lose your son. Um, their motivation
Yeah.
to enact revenge on Catherine, I'm sorry, it also just feels slightly undermotivated to me. I don't know. I don't know if I think that what she did is so awful. It's not like she murdered him.
Yeah. And they have one version of events that's been told to them by the consulate and Italian police that there was an accident. The lifeguards were busy attending to someone else. He went out and died. I think they told them trying to rescue someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, what version of that puts Catherine as sort of this villain?
Nancy wants to meet her and finds
Yeah,
out that they've already gone back to London. And like, okay, that's rude,
yeah,
perhaps. Maybe that's inconsiderate. Just go ahead and leave as planned, given that Jonathan has died and so on. Yeah, but still, I don't know that that's huge.
yeah,
Even if we take the portrayal we get as factual, there is a moment in there where she sees that he's still out there. She knows that he's still out there, and she does not alert the others
yes,
that he's still out there.
yes,
And she says in the present to Robert that she wanted Jonathan to die,
yes.
which I don't know, I felt a little
But there's no
shoehorned
way
to me.
Stephen and Nancy would know that. There's no way.
I mean, you could imagine that this is the case or something like that, and give that kind of portrayal that, because this stupid kid fell in love with her, he wasn't supposed to do
Yeah,
that.
right.
She wanted him dead and allowed him to die on purpose. But even from what we see, it doesn't quite land as it being that, you know?
Yeah. But I also think
Um,
you're making a good point that Catherine admitting that to Robert here in the present timeline that she wanted him to die is perhaps the one thing that synergizes itself with what's we're seeing. So with that actual reality or just the perspective of what the parents describe in the book, it seems like in both versions, Catherine is very comfortable with, oh, you've died trying to save my son. That doesn't bother me too much.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like maybe there is at least some truth there. But okay, here's another thing I want to talk about. They have their kind of altercation when Jonathan says, I'm gonna come back to London with you. Like, you don't have to leave your husband right away. I was like, oh no,
Right.
oh no, buddy. And she says basically absolutely not, Um thinking about Nicholas, she'd asked some other woman to watch him. She's gone for a while. I mean, I don't know how long, but it must have been like at least 15 minutes.
At least.
It feels longer, but I'm saying, like even if you want to shorten it up as much as it could possibly be, it's probably at least 15 minutes.
It was long enough that that woman that she asked to watch him does not appear to be there anymore.
Right,
She's
she
like,
just left. That's
left.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Um, which I've had experiences like that. And you're just kind of like, hey, but then at the same time, you have to realize it was like, well, I wasn't gone. I was gone a while.
Yep.
Um, but the kid's still just sitting there, right? He's fine.
Yeah.
He's perfectly fine. And he's got that little, raft, inflatable raft thing. I don't even know why he has that thing. But he's just sitting there. He's fine. And then she says, Mommy's going to take a nap. Don't go anywhere, right? And she proceeds to take a nap, which is clearly in part, I don't know what, almost a move against Jonathan. Like,
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
me alone. I'm not talking to you. I'm not looking at you. You should be leaving the beach right now as
Yeah.
I close my eyes. And when I open my eyes, you should be gone. Right.
Yeah.
I felt like she was trying to communicate that. But she does fall asleep. And then that's the thing. There's a gap here, right? Because when she wakes up, Nicholas is out in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea.
Hmm.
Jonathan's still lying right over there where he was before.
Yes.
All right, so and the weather is kind of picked up, you know.
Yeah.
But so how'd the kid get in the middle of the sea?
Yeah. I mean, living near the ocean, have some experience with taking my kids out into the water and I mean, clearly we're not going to let them go out on their own, but I don't know how you get into a little inflatable raft like that and end up 300 yards away from the beach.
Right, like wouldn't you have to do some active work to get through the
Yes.
initial waves?
If you're a little inflatable raft and you're a 4-year-old kid that weighs 40 pounds or whatever, no, you're not going to end up a quarter mile away from the shore. I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a big question. It's something that started bothering me. And my first thought was, well, I don't know that we're going to find out. I think maybe we're just supposed to accept this, but I'm not so sure as I thought about it.
I see where you might be going with this, and I'm wondering, I've not thought about this before, but I'm wondering where you're headed is what I'm thinking.
Well, I'm wondering. All right, so is it plausible that the kid just wandered down there and was in the water, and then the weather picked up somehow, and the weather picking up like sucked him out to sea? I guess
Yeah.
maybe, right? But what if this is the big
Oh, this is
speculative
the stuff.
theory that maybe you see coming?
This is the stuff I love. Yes.
What if Jonathan did it?
Yep. I love it.
What
I
what
love it.
if Jonathan purposely put that kid out to sea so that he could rescue the kid?
Yep. Get back in her good graces.
Yeah,
Yep. We were right about Lady in the Lake. We
yeah. I
might
was
be
thinking
right
about
about
that.
this too.
I was thinking about
Um,
that. I
I
kind of
I am now that I'm processing this in real time. I'm a fan of this theory. He does not seem to want to accept, at least immediately, he does not want to accept no for an answer. He does not want to have his Catherine turn her back on him. So what can I do while she is asleep to put her back into wanting to I mean, I presume he thinks that this would doing an action like that would put them back in some sort of relationship together. Why not try it? He's 19 years old. It's the best I can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad plan if he did it, but I mean, let's consider the other possibility. Maybe, and maybe there's some third possibility that I'm not landing on, right?
Yeah.
But like Jonathan is sitting there, Catherine starts taking a nap. If Nicholas decided to take his little raft down to the sea, which again doesn't quite feel to me like something that kid would do from what we've seen of
Yeah.
the kid. But anyway, if he did do that, what was Jonathan doing? Just watching him?
Yeah.
Did
I mean,
Jonathan take a nap too?
he was asleep when he heard Catherine call out to him, but was he actually asleep? Obviously, we don't know that.
Was he was shown as being asleep?
Yeah, I believe he was shown as being asleep, but I mean, clearly, if you do that, you're gonna, oh, I'm gonna go out there in the water and play with you, and then run back and pretend like I'm asleep, and then have him be rescued. But then you're sort of counting on Catherine waking up and seeing him, and yeah, it's a horrible plan, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know if it quite fits. But again, if the version that we saw is the version as written in the book, then maybe it's not accurate with regard to something that would relate directly to this, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um,
I still think there's got to be more to the layers of Catherine being that awful. This obviously contributes to it, but there's got to be more.
yeah, or weirdly, like on the theory I just floated, maybe she's not so super awful, and Jonathan was actually the one who was
Yeah, exactly,
got
exactly.
himself into this situation where he ended up
Yeah.
drowning,
No, this is my
Um,
new favorite theory for this show. All right, I'm glad you brought this up.
we'll see. As always, Ryan, when I land on stuff like this, and then I start thinking, well, like I hope they do better than that. I hope I'm not right. I
Yeah.
hope I hope I hope I didn't call it. Um,
Look, there's only 3 episodes left.
yeah.
I mean, there's not much time here to tell the rest of this story. I mean, we clearly have to resolve what happened to her in the book. Does that parallel what happened to her in real life? So we've got to get to that by the last episode. So there's not
Hmm.
much story left to tell here.
Yeah, and what is going to happen to her in real life?
Yeah,
Where is she even going to go
right.
now that Robert has kicked her out of the house? I don't know where she's going to go. Go to a hotel or something? Does
Yeah,
she have
I mean,
friends? I don't know if she
pull
has
pull
friends.
pull the Roberts plan, just sleep in the car for for a night. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't think she's going to do that. And also, she needs a plan that's more than a night. None of those people she works with seem like her friends.
No,
Oh
not
my
not
God, is
at
she
all.
going to go impose on her assistant?
Yeah,
It's possible. I'm not, just to be clear, I'm
really,
not saying that we're seeing that this is a good
right.
person.
And her poor assistant really took it on the chin in that last episode, man.
Yeah. He's trying to do her job, Catherine. Um, yeah, so we'll see about that. I'm curious, as you mentioned, there's only 3 episodes left. This is I don't usually like saying things like this in general because I'm a big fan of TV. But I did start thinking during these 2 episodes, like maybe this could have been a movie. Like, is there really enough story for 7 hours? Or
Yeah, I've read some commentary about the show, various things that people are writing, and there's a undercurrent of, oh, Quran made a 6.5 hour movie here. Yeah, there's some of that.
yeah, but then like could have been three.
Yeah, exactly,
Could you got the work done in 2.5?
exactly.
Um, but I mean I don't want to say that too strongly because personally I enjoy watching television and I enjoy
Yeah,
I enjoy episodic stories. But I do think there with some of the stuff there may have been ways to like work
yeah,
through it more efficiently. I think it could have. Let me say
yeah,
this. Let me put it this way. I think this could have been a film.
yeah.
Would
Oh,
it have
completely
been
agree.
better as a film? I don't know. Maybe we can ask that question again once we watch the next
Yeah, we'll
three
see.
episodes. Does
Which,
it
by the
feel
way,
like
just
it's really dragging or what?
yeah, I have felt that, and I'm interested to see if I continue to feel that. And but part of what is interesting, and I don't think you could have done in a movie, maybe you could have, is there's some interesting stuff written out there online about the cat
Oh yeah.
and how the cat plays into this. Like basically, he would, they would set up their scenes, they would block their scenes, they would rehearse their scenes, they'd go through everything, they know the lines, and then at random times he'll just throw the cat in the scene and just have it just sort
Nice.
of cause chaos. So it's just interesting stuff. Again, just trying to have fun as he's working on a TV show, I guess.
That's cool. That's cool. Their cat is not well trained.
No,
And I
not at
know some
all.
people might say, "Oh, you can't train a cat." Yes, you can. Here's the thing: I've had lots of cats in my life, and when the cat jumps up on the kitchen counter, here's the thing: you have to pick up the cat and throw it off the kitchen counter every time.
Every time.
You have to do it every time. If there's one time you're like, I don't feel like getting up and taking the cat off the counter, now the cat knows you're not serious. Now
Yeah,
the cat's won. The game's over. You have to consistently take the cat off the counter every single time you see it on the counter. Cats are smart enough to know that they're on the counter and you're letting them get away with it.
for those who want to make their complaints about camera treatment of pets, just Cameron Crane of CTV. I don't know what you're, what you're
I'm not
even.
saying to be harsh about it. Don't throw the cat off the counter hard. Just like pick it up, just toss it on the floor, toss the cat out on the floor. You're not allowed to be on the counter,
Right, right.
and they'll stop doing it. But you have to be consistent. If they know that they're on the counter and you're not doing anything about it,
Yep,
then
that's it. They win. They
they
win.
win. They win. But I do enjoy the cat factoring in here, and I am enjoying this show. Again, the performances are all really good.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know anything else we want to hit on here before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think we've hit the kind of the high points here. Glad we got to talk through some of those. Yeah, I think there's a couple of enduring mysteries here that will likely get wrapped up. But I like the theorizing of this show, not knowing the perspective, not knowing exactly the timeline, not knowing the
Yeah.
what was written in that book. So I'm still curious to and interested to see how it's all uncovered.
Oh, should we very briefly return to the what year is it question? Um, what year did Jonathan and Catherine have the affair? I guess in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah, did we
Um,
settle on 2011 or is it something different?
I feel like it has to be earlier, particularly now that we've got the Kylie Minogue reference. She also mentions Kate
Yeah,
Moss,
that's
who's
right. Yeah,
Kate Moss's
which
heyday was in the late 1990s, I think, right?
yeah, and Catherine looks
Uh,
so much younger than she does in the present time. Like, it's got to be earlier than that.
if we could find out how old Nicholas is in the present, we would have a definitive answer
Exactly.
because we know
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
was 4. He
Yep.
says, "I'm 4," right? That's a lot. You have that whole
Yep.
thing, right? So if we imagine, but the thing is, we also don't know for sure what year it is in the present timeline, right? I mean,
Exactly.
we could
Exactly.
say, hey, they have smartphones, it must be 2024, or it could be, 2018. I don't know that they've given us
Yeah.
anything that would confirm that sort of thing. I don't know. It's weird because it feels like there is an answer and they just haven't fully told us, and
Yeah. And
maybe it
maybe
doesn't
maybe
matter
it's
a lot.
yeah, it might be applicable to what was going to happen next. So we'll probably find out later.
But I am personally I'm landing on like early aughts. It has to be in a space where it would potentially make sense for him to have a Kylie Minogue poster on his wall, slash for Catherine to list those names as potential celebrity crushes. I think it would have to be kind of early aughts. It's definitely after 1999. You know that for sure. But okay, so thanks as always for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a good rating, review. If you're watching the YouTube video, press that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week talking about episode 5 of Disclaimer. In the meantime, I encourage you to check out tvobsessive.com. We publish articles there regularly on various TV shows and all of that good stuff. You can follow the site on social media, search for TV Obsessive. You should be able to find us on the major platforms, including Blue Sky, where we're probably maybe the most active. Even there's a bit of an exodus, another exodus from Twitter to Blue Sky this week. I noticed another terms of service change or whatever.
It
I don't know. Encourage people
it's
get on Blue Sky. It's the
it's
future.
crumbling. It's crumbling.
Blue Sky is the future. Anyway, that's my position. Anyway, or don't use social media at all. Take care of your mental health. Um, anyway, we'll leave it there. Again, we'll be back next week, continuing on with Disclaimer, and we'll see you then.
All right. See you next time.